Hi, welcome. I hope that you are doing well. Hopefully you're on, and if you can hear me, just let me know that you can hear me. All right, so I want to welcome you. I'm really excited that you are here. I just want to orient you to a few things. Let me know if you can hear me. Perfect. Well, welcome to Retail Buying Math Made Simple. My name is Christine Guillo, and you're in the right place. You know you are in the right place if you own a retail business and you are ready to ensure more profitability in the future. You are definitely in the right place if you want to take your business to the next level. You are in the right place if you're just starting, but you are going to have inventory to sell. Let's say, for example, you are not ready to dive deep and you are scared of math, or you don't have time to commit to the process to make retail buying work for you. This might not be the video for you because we're diving deep and we're going to take it seriously, and I know you're ready to take it seriously. If you happen to be in that case, and if you are scared or if you're not ready, I'm going to encourage you to keep watching the video because you're going to glean some nuggets, and I bet you it's not going to be as scary as you think it is. Okay? I promise it's not as scary. I've been teaching this for many, many hours and many, many days and many years. It's going to be okay, and we'll help you through it. So what I want to do is just orient you to your screen if you are on the live stream. So number one, I will always recommend that you watch webinars on your laptop or on your desktop. It's the way that Steph and I do it, is we watch on our computer. And the reason why is we want you to be able to use the chat feature if you're on the live stream. So now is a really good time if you're watching on your phone just to go ahead and bust your computer out, access the links, and start watching the broadcast from there. Number two, close down all of those nasty, tempting browser tabs. When I get distracted on webinars, and I don't want you to get distracted. We're going to be here together for maybe about an hour. It's going to be a focused hour, so just let those distractions wait for just a little bit. The next thing is that you're going to need something to write with. So grab paper and a pen or pencil. We're pretty basic here. I do the same thing. I will probably be taking a notes alongside with you. What you don't want to do is you probably won't want to be typing right into your computer as you learn. I find that it's distracting to go back and forth between screens. So you are going to be really well served with a notebook and something to write with. And then the last thing I want to introduce you to is our chat feature. So at the very bottom right of your screen is a black tab that says click here. And that is our chat feature. It is linked to Facebook because I want to see your face too. I want to know who I'm chatting with, and the chat feature is for those viewing the live stream. It will automatically send us your message to our Facebook page. Steph's with us, so she's going to come around and say hi in a little bit. And she's monitoring, and she is going to be responding real time if it's appropriate. She's going to be filtering the questions for us. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like our Facebook page. All right, so those are the basics. Watch it on your desktop or laptop, close down those browser tabs, grab something to write with, and send us your questions through Facebook. We've included a link down there for you. So click here. It'll open up that fly menu. Go ahead and send your questions. You can leave it open if you want, or there's a little faint X at the top right-hand corner. Close it if you don't want to see it. So come on around, Steph. Say hi. This is Stephanie Campbell. She is our amazing, amazing other half of Merchant Method.
Hello. How's it going, everybody?
Thank you. So she'll be responding to you guys on Facebook. So my number one goal in teaching you today, and it is genuinely My number one goal always is to give you enough information so you can ask better questions. Again, my number one goal is to give you enough info so you're asking better questions. I myself have been in a situation where I'm entering a newer realm in an area that I'm pretty familiar with, but for some reason entering this newer realm, I just don't know enough to ask good questions. And when we ask good questions, guess what? We get better answers, right? Doesn't that make sense? Ask a good question, you can get a better answer. And when we have better answers, we're able to make choices better with more clarity and more confidence. Also, I want you to set goals for yourself. They are likely to be quantitative goals, number-driven goals, but I also want you to set qualitative goals for yourself, goals that are process-driven, that are tangible, but maybe not directly tied to the financials. When you make both quantitative and qualitative goals, and we really dangle that as our carrot and our motivator, we set something to work towards. And when we start to measure our achievement against those goals, we really start to improve. And I hope for you that your number one goal is to ask better questions. And what an amazing pair we are. I'm here to help you ask better questions, and hopefully you're here to be motivated to ask better questions. So here's some more fantastic news about what I'm teaching you today. Here are my notes. I'm working off my notes. Is that I suspect that you're watching and learning because you want to know more. And what I love about retail financial math and how simple I'm going to make this for you is that you can apply it to your business right now. And no, I don't know what business you run. I don't know how long you've been in business, who your target audience is. I don't know if you sell strictly online or strictly in stores, or as most businesses do, both. I don't know how much revenue you drive. I don't know those things, and I don't need to, because I am 100% confident that these things are going to work for you. And I know this because I've been in the industry for 17 years. I've been the person behind the pencil, behind the calculator, getting to know new businesses every year. I've used these processes to run hundreds of millions of dollars of businesses at the corporate level in cubicles alongside my partners and my friends that were also running hundreds of millions of dollars of businesses. I've used it to help our clients run brand new small businesses. I've used it to help our clients run businesses that are 15 years down in history. And I've used it to train brand new business owners. I know, trust me, it works. That's the great thing that I love about this. So don't feel intimidated. You are, in fact, ready. So, told you a little bit about me, a little bit more about Merchant Method. So Steph and I are really passionate about training retailers like you, whether you run brick and mortar or e-commerce or both, makers and small batch manufacturers, how to drive more profit, how to move from being entrepreneurial to really being enterprising, how to move from running a business based on intuition and gut to something that's really driven by being responsive to what your customers actually buy. We do a lot of this through one-on-one training, and we're super passionate about that. Our clients pay us thousands of dollars a month, anywhere from $1,000 to $4,000 a month to train them on that. And that's not what we're here to do. I'm not here to upsell you. I'm not here to take you through a long, amazing process and leave you hanging. I'm here simply to train you, because we're really passionate about small independent businesses. And I myself also rely on the internet. I also rely on Googling to make sure my own formulas are correct. We don't just keep these things locked up in our brain. A lot of what we do but sometimes we just need a double check. And I've read what's out there, and what's out there is largely academic. And for us working professionals, we need to understand, what does it mean for me? What's in it for me? And so I'm hoping to demystify some of this for you. I'm also hoping that we've got a few viewers that are seasoned retail industry professionals that are interested in moving to buying, or those that are just newer, greener in the industry that want to intentionally grow their career with an eye towards merchandising and buying, and wanting to arm themselves with the things they need to keep on their radar. Training, that's our sole purpose. So this may come as a shock to you, and hopefully it doesn't, because it's a term that I started hearing and saying a dozen years ago that's become more relevant in the world of retail, is that really is a mix of both art and science. And some of the best merchants and best buyers I know embrace both. And so I'm not going to kill your inner creativity. I'm not going to stifle your gut. Hands down, the one thing that's common amongst all of our clients and all of our workshop students is that they are passionate about the product they sell. That's the thing that they have in common. Super passionate about their product, really, really connected with their customer, and really devoted to finding the right merchandise for them. What we're here to do is to provide you with additional information to bolster your confidence with more certainty. That's the mix of art and science. So hopefully that wasn't a shock to you, but that's some news. To be a really good retail buyer, you're going to have both components. There's another big bit of news. If you are seasoned in taking webinars, guess what? I have no slides for you, zero. I'm not going to show you and flash you my 200 slides that I'm going to walk through really, really fast to show you and prove to you how much content you're getting. You're going to get content. I don't want to have those things, because I myself, like Steph and I just took a webinar 2 weeks ago, because there are some things we're getting to know. It felt so good in the moment, and at the end of the day, after having like flick through the slides, try to take our notes, get semi-distracted, when we were by ourselves, the two of us in our office, there were some things we just couldn't figure out. And I want you to primarily listen. I want you to primarily understand, how does this apply to me? I don't want to distract you with flashbang whiz. What I'm going to do is take these concepts and put some story behind them so that you become invested yourself. All right? So the biggest steps to becoming an amazing retail buyer is, number one, the conversation. It's not the math. People are not going to want to know how you calculated it. The assumption is that you know how to do it. It's the conversation and the story you're able to tell from the math. And it's the comprehension in understanding what it took to get there. And then most importantly, what you're going to do as the next step in that story. All right? So we're not going to get lost in the woods. We're going to pull up in our, in our buyer helicopter, and we're going to get a lay of the land. That's what we're going to do. I have been teaching this exact content. I was counting my hours since April of 2016. So like 2.5 months. I've probably spent about 100 hours. I'm not kidding you, 100 hours focused on this retail buying math, between working with our one-on-one clients, between holding public workshops in May, holding a private workshop in June, and then teaching undergraduate merchandising students, 100 hours. And as I'm approaching the end of these 100 hours, I literally took some notes this morning with some hindsight to say, what do I wish everyone knew beforehand? And that's what you get to know now. So here's number one of the 7 things you need to know to be a better retail buyer. Number 1, accounting is amazing. Accounting isn't enough. So write that down. Please write that down. Accounting is amazing, but accounting is not enough. So accounting is like the given. It's the thing that needs to happen for all businesses, all legal businesses and businesses that want to run profitably and be sustainable. So whether it's a service business or a product-based business, whether we sell information or we sell widgets, we need accounting because we need to understand a few things. What is our revenue? What are our expenses? Really. Balance sheet, a profit and loss statement. That's accounting. And I will always tell you that those ducks need to be in a row. You need to understand where you're at in order to have a financially sustainable business. But it's not enough in the retail setting. So here's thing number 2. Accounting isn't going to care about the things we as buyers care about. It's not going to think the way we think about as merchants. It's not going to address the things that we want our customers to know. Accounting will never care about the style that our customer is looking for, what occasion the customer is shopping for, what kind of price point they tend to gravitate towards, how much our customers spend at full price versus how much they spend at markdown. Accounting's not going to care about how often you bring in new receipts. They're not going to care about, it's not going to care about how many choices you provide your customer. That's where we turn to something a little bit deeper and very retail specific, which is retail financial math. There's a whole host and a whole industry career dedicated to, I want you to really dive into this world even deeper than you already are. In this world lives things like our wholesale cost versus our retail price. And in between those, what our profit margin is. In this world lives how we classify our products, how we buy within those classifications, how we mix the product base and the assortment based on how much money we have to spend. It's almost as if you have a bank statement that lets you know how much money you have. But what you're really doing is you're really budgeting. And so your bank, and in that statement, they'll never care that you meal plan. They'll never care that you are trying to stick to a certain amount of grocery bill a month. They'll never care about how much you want to spend in commuting or how much you want to spend in dry cleaning. They'll never care about the lifestyle piece. Your bank statement's just going to tell you the transactional history of what happened, and then you get to decide, you get to manage. So your accounting information is only going to state the facts, but with retail financial math, you can start to really live and breathe life into your business through the choices that you make and through how you manage your budget. In this piece of retail financial math is where you get how much you can spend every month and every quarter and for the year. So number 3, you always need to know how much inventory you own at any given moment, like right now. I work with clients and they always want to dive into this very juicy topic. And one of the things I always have to know is how much inventory do you own? Now, inventory ownership is not the same as how much do you order? How much do you place in a new buy? When things are coming, how much you've spent before? They're not the same. And the reason why they're not the same is because we don't sell out of everything completely. We wish we would, but we don't. And we need to know how much inventory we have right now. Successful buying is not only understanding sales, but it's understanding the relationship of sales and inventory. That's a really important marriage for being a really good retail buyer, is sales and inventory. and all of the relationships that we can start to calculate and understand between those two important components. And a really good accounting process can tell you how much you own in inventory, but I have found time and time again that that ends up not being very accurate throughout the year. So just put in your mind's eye and write in your notes, how much inventory do I own at this moment? And you'll want to know that in units. You'll want to know that and how much it actually cost you to get that inventory. And then you'll want to know it from a retail value perspective. And so what do I mean by that? I mean, if a customer walked into your store and they totally fell in love and said, wrap it up, I'll take it all, how much would you charge them for all of it? Now, don't forget, this is everything on your sales floor, everything in your stock room, everything way up high, anything way down low, and even things that you may have stored for the following year. I know a lot of small retailers will save seasonal goods and bin them up and bring them out the next year. It's everything that you own that is sellable. And it takes a lot of time to do a single count, but it also takes a lot of time to keep that count up over time. And that work is so worth it. It's an important tool to have. So number 4, the fourth thing you need to know is you need to have a really solid understanding of your past sales, volume, units, what you've sold, what the composition of it is. You need to understand your past. And let's pin that. I'm going to talk about the past a little bit more. You need to understand what's happening presently. What is the traffic now? Is it different than you thought? Is it different than the past? Is it impacted by things around you? You need to understand what I call your possibilities. And your possibilities is all the things similar to marketing, right? So the possibilities could be what is in your capacity to provide your customers from a new assortment perspective. What's in your capacity to drive more traffic to your store? What's in your capacity to reach out through more social media and marketing? It's in those possibilities that can influence how big your present can be. And then you need to take those things, take what's happening and what you're observing just economic wide, and then bust out your crystal ball and polish it a little bit and take a stab at what the forecast in the future will look like, because we do indeed have to forecast. So within the realm of sales, even before you can start to set a goal, a realistic goal, a goal that you're going to take action against, you need to understand your past. You need to understand your present. You need to quantify what may come from your possibilities to forecast your future. So here's where I'm going to sidebar and talk about the past, because I know that everyone has different businesses and different business history. And there can be a lot of volatility in your history depending on how old your business is. So if you haven't heard about comparable stores or comp stores, non-comp or non-comparable stores and new stores, you're hearing it now. So a comparable store is one that has been open long enough, typically about 3 years, 3 or more years, that has had very minimal changes to it. And by minimal, I really mean minimal. They are located in the exact same address with the exact same square footage, pretty much with the same floor plan, and those 3 things. And they've been in business for several years. The reason why we call them comparable is they're established. They have a great baseline Customers and neighbors know about them. They know a lot more about their business. They're able to look past some of the volatility and make strong choices, and there's a lot of steadiness happening. When stores hit their comparable years, they're really able to quiet down the noise and isolate the things that are driving their business or isolate the biggest opportunities. So think about Econ 101 in college and this phrase, all things being equal, or holding all other things equal, right? And I remember thinking as a freshman in college, where in the real world am I going to ever care about holding all other things equal? Well, when it comes to running a business and the speed of retail and the changing nature of consumers, we want to hold as much equal as we can, and hitting this comparable year allows us to hold a few things equal. On the opposite end, you have new stores. Brand new stores that are bright and shiny, and oh boy, do people love bright and shiny. I have shiny object syndrome. Ooh, look at this, what's happening there? And customers love newness. There's an influx in traffic unlike something that you could replicate. There's brand new merchandise, everything's brand new, lots of new exposure, maybe lots of media coverage locally or nationally. And there's nothing like a first year. And to compare the rest of the years to your first year is honestly not fair. It's and to set an expectation as if it's going to be like the first year is either going to be a tough act to follow, or you're not going to be able to manage your business successfully because the first year is really, really special. I find a lot of businesses struggle with the second year because they're comparing it to the first, and we want to help you get past that because you can. And in between the comparable store and the new store lives this in-between second year where you have some stability, for sure. Absolutely, there's some stability, but there's still a lot of change happening and you're still trying to get your footing. I think of it as infancy, toddlerness, and then, you know, a middle schooler. Everyone loves the infant and the baby. They want to hold the little baby. Toddler years, you kind of figuring it out a little wobbly. And then when you hit second grade, you're running and you're definitely more solid-footed and you're taking bigger risks. That's my sidebar on understanding your past, your present, and your future. So number 5, when you set your retail prices, you have to have profitability in mind. So I'm going to say that again. When you set your retail prices, you have to have profitability in mind. So what does profitability mean? Profitability means you are absolutely 100% covering all of your costs and bringing in more revenue so you can continue to buy more product. It used to be the case that for retail, it was all about location, location, location. And that is not the case anymore. Right now in retail, it's all about cash flow, cash flow, cash flow. Because unless you have that flow of cash, you cannot bring in new products. I have a strong belief that in general, there's misinformation going on that marking up your wholesale 4 times or 400% to get to a retail price or keystoning. There's so much out there that teaches small retailers to keystone or to mark up 400%. That is not enough. It's not enough. It may be enough if you have very low or no overhead. It may be enough if your operating expenses are low and you 100% consign. It's not going to be enough once you start to have product to sell. It's not going to be enough once you have a brick and mortar, once you're ready to take it to the next level and hire employees. So just remember, when you're setting your retail price, have profitability in mind. And that means more than 50%. Often that means more than a 50% gross margin. Number 6, really know how much you've ordered in wholesale and in receipts. Almost all of our clients are really good and can pull up how much they've ordered by month. And typically when they turn that over to me, it's how much they've paid in cost, plus shipping, if shipping's applicable. And having that information, in fact, is great, and we have to take it one step further. So let's go back, let's rewind maybe about 10 minutes or 12 minutes when I highlighted the relationship between sales revenue, sales dollars, and inventory dollars. We need to compare in that relationship what I call apples to apples. So it would be hard for us to compare a pound with a kilogram, or for us to compare Celsius and Fahrenheit without doing a really, really fast conversion. We need to compare things that weigh the same. And in order for us to compare sales and inventory in a really meaningful way, we need to take our purchases and reflect them at the retail value that we're going to be charging our customer. So receipts at wholesale cost are great. We really, really need receipts at retail to make these tools work for you. There's a lot of ways you can do it. You can do that manually. I have clients that do it manually. I have other clients that use their very savvy point of sale system. But when we ask the question, because we should be able to ask this question at any point, how much inventory do I own? Yes, I can get that answer back at units. I can get it back at wholesale cost, or I can get it back at retail value, and that retail value one's the winning ticket. All right, so we're approaching the 7th thing you need to know. These are a lot of things you need to know, and hopefully you are starting to understand, and you're starting to get bought off on, and you're starting to get invested in the fact that, oh, if I don't know these things, I need to know them. So number 7 is we have to pull back the covers or pull back the rug on things we normally sweep under the rug. And those are things like getting really clear about what's happening in our business with markdowns. How much have we sold at markdown? When are we taking markdowns? It tends to be a notable amount in any retail business is that sale rack or that sale bin, that thing that we don't want to love too much because it detracts people from buying at full price. That's important to know what happens at markdown. What's also important to know is how much are we discounting what we charge people. And that includes discounts for employees. It includes discounts for promotions, promotional events you might be having, like seasonal events or events that feature a certain artist or designer. It could be something that we've used to bounce back customers, like sign up for our email list and get 20% off your next purchase. All of those discounts may seem discretionary, and they might in fact be discretionary. They add up over a full year, and they eat away at our revenue, and it's fine if we use them with intention, but we need to understand that. And then the third thing we need to pull the cover back on is what are inventory losses or inventory shrink. If you're not familiar with inventory loss or inventory shrink, it's how much we lose. And the 3 causes of loss are internal theft, because even though we don't want to believe it sometimes, the number 1 point of loss for retail businesses are employees. They could be lost due to external theft. Literally, someone just walks out of the store with it. And the third way is just pure, simple human error, that we have keyed something in wrong. We need to quantify that too, because that really impacts our business. How much we can sell, how much inventory we need to buy. So let's review these 7 things that you need to know. Number 1, accounting is important. It is not going to be enough for you to be a really, really savvy buyer. We love it, but we need more. Number 2, in order to get to that great budget, that buying budget that we so love, and it's so sexy and so exciting, and it's why we started our business to begin with, we need a whole host of retail math things around it. Number 3, you have to know how much inventory you have at any point. It's a must, and we need to know it at the retail value. And here's the reason why, if I didn't say it before, you can only sell as much inventory as you have. You can only sell as much inventory as you have or as you can get your hands on. But we know the customer has many, many choices, and if it's in hand, we are far likely to sell it versus if the customer has to wait for weeks or months. Number 4, you need to understand your past sales, what is happening with the revenue presently, what your possibility could mean in revenue based on increased customer traffic, marketing, brand new assortment choices. All of these things that you do to bolster your business and drive more traffic should be translatable to an expectation in sales. You need these things in order to predict future sales. And you're going to be predicting future sales because we know all too well that if we wait too long, we miss an opportunity in sales because there are lead times to get inventory. And in order for us to order the inventory that we need, wait for it to come, prepare it to be on the sales floor, ready for the customer to buy, customer sees it once or twice before they purchase, that long amount of time, we'll miss it if we don't predict the future. Number 5, when you set your retail prices, you need to have profitability in mind. You need to understand what gross margin % you need so that you know how to set your retail price based on your wholesale cost. We absolutely need to cover your operating expenses. And we know that location is not enough for the success of the business. You need cash flow. Number 6, our awesome, loving relationship between sales and inventory. In order to really optimize and get all that great information about that relationship and what to do next, they need to be apples to apples. And so we're comparing sales dollars against the retail value of your inventory. And number 7, we're going to be you need to pull back the covers. We just have to start to understand from a financial perspective, what in the world is happening with markdowns? How much do discounts impact our business and our revenue? And how much have we lost? And knowing that just at the end of the year, knowing these 3 things just at the end of the year is not enough to make great decisions now. All right, so this is what you need to know to be a good retail buyer. And if you're feeling and asking yourself the question, well, great, what do I do with it? Congratulations, you're asking better questions because these, in fact, are just tools. These are the tools you need in your toolbox in order to get to those awesome questions like, how much do I need to buy? How do I forecast future sales? How do I press the replay button on something that was just amazing? And so I want to give you an analogy on tools versus process. So let's think about a kitchen versus a cook, right? In order for us to start, we need tools in the kitchen, and we can have a lot of tools and still have a cook of varying capabilities. We can have a 3rd grader make pretty good mac and cheese. Someone who knows how to use the stovetop, who can use a cheese grater, pretty basic, made from scratch. A third grader might be able to do that with some supervision. Good tools. We may have a young professional who's coming home after working on the job in their young 20s, able to cook something maybe a little bit fancier than mac and cheese. Tools in the kitchen, that young professional can cook an awesome meal. We may have the cook who is ready to host and loves to entertain and might have everyone over for a 4th of July barbecue or Thanksgiving dinner. Same tools in the kitchen, different capability. Or we, in fact, could have a chef in a commercial kitchen. The reason why I'm bringing up these analogies is I'm going to give you bonus nugget number 8, which is at the top of my sheet. Bonus nugget number 8. You do not have to be perfect to utilize these tools. Your tools don't have to be the shiniest, brand new, most technologically advanced. What I love about retail math is you can use this information, what I call directionally. You can use it to point you in a direction of north-ish. And in this instance, I'm going to say ish is better than not knowing. Directional is better than guessing. That having some information that is based on data is better than only using gut. Because I bet you that data is going to validate your gut and make you that much more confident and move more swiftly, or it's not, in fact. And it's going to color your perspective on how you're going to make choices later. So absolutely, yes, we want accurate data, but you know what? Don't let accuracy stop you in your track. The best thing you can do is move forward with what you have. So here's my second sidebar of the day. Let's say you don't have any of this. That's fine. It's okay. You can work with ish and you can start to collect the data you need now, knowing that your goal might be to have your arms around these 7 things. That's a perfectly appropriate place to start. So we have these tools. Now, what kinds of questions can you ask? There's so much math that we can use based on these things that we know. We can never use this math if we don't know these things. And honestly, here are questions I get asked all the time. How many options do I need to provide my customers? Right? So let's just pretend, then this may not be hard for you to imagine, the last time you bought a pair of denim jeans. Like jeans are not my friend. So when I shop, I know for every 1 pair of denim jeans I buy, I'm probably going to have to try on 4 pair. That's just me and my body. So I'm walking in, 4 pairs of jeans on my arm. My hope and goal is to walk away with 1. If I need to buy a dress, chances are I'm walking to the fitting room with 3 dresses. There is a methodology to how much inventory you need to know, and it really is based on future sales forecasts, and then how much inventory you actually have at this moment will help get you to that answer. I get asked, how often should I bring in new inventory? And that's an awesome question. I love that newness. Because when we put ourselves in the customer's perspective, again, just like in this jeans example, when we put ourselves in the customer's perspective, we're thinking, when was the last time the customer was in our store? And how much newness did our customer see? If our customer comes in once a week, is it fresh every 3rd week? Or is it stale after 6 weeks? And she comes in every week for 6 weeks and nothing new has come. Is she going to come back, or is he going to come back that 7th, 8th, or 9th week? So we can start to think from a customer's perspective, how much newness we need and how often we need to bring in newness. And that really is tied to that retail budget. And that retail budget and your gross margin is going to allow you to have enough cash flow or to start to think about your cash flow so you can place these orders. The other question I get asked is, when do I mark things down? It's an awesome question. When do you mark things down? Well, how long have you had it? How long has it been sitting in the store? How much did you buy when you bought it? How much more inventory do you have left? How much have you sold? And I'm asking questions around sales and inventory. And depending on what that relationship is, that's going to tell us how long you should have things before you mark them down. And when I get asked, and when Steph and I get asked these types of questions, guess where we start? We start with, well, how much inventory do you have? How much have you sold and how much do you think you're going to sell? And how much are you marking up? What's your gross margin? How much room in your profitability do you have? Those are the three things we need to know in order for us to get really, really great directional information about what action to take. So really, I told you I wasn't going to have slides for you, and I have just one, because there's no way that we were going to have this whole time together and I wasn't going to show you our formula. You need a formula, and I was going to just show it to you on a piece of paper, but I think it's going to be better if I show you it in a screen. So I'm going to share a screen and show this to you. And let me find it. Can you see that screen? Not yet, right? Let's share this screen here. Here we go. We are going to share the screen. So let me know when you can see this screen. And the title of the slide is Merchandising Plan Fundamentals. All right. So here is the thing that I love about retail math, is it's algebra. It's algebra. It is not as complicated as accounting. Thank goodness for me. And hopefully thank goodness for you. It is not as hard as accounting. We have accountants that do a lot of smart accounting things for us. We can handle our retail math. And I say that as in Stephanie and I. We have accountants that manage smart accounting things for us, and she and I handle the retail math day in and day out because it's algebra. Here's the other awesome news I have for you. Do you remember in algebra when you're solving for X and solving for the unknown? If you know a few things, you can solve for the unknown. And retail math is keyed into each other so well that you can move yourself through a process if you work the algebra. And what I'm here to show you, and the point of me showing you this slide, is that merchandise budgeting, retail math, retail buying can be likened to balancing your checkbook. It really can. It can be likened to managing your personal budgets, where you're starting with, for example, how much money is in my checking and savings account? All right, well, how much am I spending this month on my bills, on my discretionary fun trip to Las Vegas, or on those great new shoes I need, or a new phone I had to replace? Well, what's my paycheck? Great, I have a paycheck coming in. That should take me to how much money I have in my bank account at the end of the month. It's that similar math to get to a buying budget. So what you're starting with here is this retail stock at the beginning of the month. So when I ask you this question, how much do you own in inventory? I'm really going to ask it at the beginning of a month, or at the beginning of a quarter, or at the beginning of the season or the year. I won't really be asking that question every single day, but we need to know at the beginning of the month. We're going to take how much you start with and subtract out minus how much you're selling for the month. Then after we figure that out, we're going to pull back the rug and we're going to take out all of this other little stuff that impacts the business that we might have been ignoring, like markdowns, discounts, shrink. But luckily, we're smart and we're ordering new inventory, so we get to add in our new purchases. But again, we're adding in our purchases or orders at the retail value. And then that takes us through what we end up with at the end of the month. This is the highest level budgeting. This is the kind of budgeting that you can do for your entire business, or you can use the same budgeting to go down one level deeper by departments. Maybe it's men's versus women's. Maybe it's books versus stationery. Maybe it's shoes versus accessories. Or maybe even you're looking at this type of plan by vendor. But here's the thing, because I know you want to know, how do you get to purchases or orders at retail? This is where you can do some backwards math, which I love because we're using algebra. You can back into this information. Once you start to unlock and utilize the tools in your kitchen, but I need you to get those tools. You have to get those tools. You can't get to this information without those tools. Once you have those tools, you can start to plan a few things in this equation so that you can solve for X, which is, how much do I buy? So hopefully that is motivating enough to you to get to this answer of how much do I buy so that my customers keep coming in. All right. Thank you so much. I have awesome questions from Stephanie that I want to answer, and really, she's been like writing these questions down for me, so she's going to hand them off, and I'm going to answer a few questions.
They're in the
they're in the phone because she's so good, and we've been receiving them. Okay, so let's go have a looky-loo at all these awesome questions. Okay. Woo, good one. Ooh, okay, I love this. I get this question a lot, and it's about, for those of you who have point of sale systems like Square or what's the other one? Square, Talic is another one. There's a few out there. PayPal. Won't my inventory, so the question is, won't my inventory just show in my Square reports, and why can't I just use that? I love this question. So if you're utilizing your point of sale system in its most robust manner, you absolutely can pull reports. And if you know what you want to pull out from your reports, you're absolutely going to know what you need to pull in. So the kinds of things that you need to add into your Square reports is everything, every little bit of inventory you have, what the wholesale price is, what the current cost is. The challenge is going to be this, and we have clients that hit this challenge. When you sell in multiple channels of distribution, online versus in store, 2 locations, 3 locations, a pop-up, off the fly with a friend. I do this with my friends. Oh, I love my friends who just sell me things because I email them and then we meet for coffee and then they give them to me. That stuff leads to data integrity. So as long as your Square has data that has integrity, it should work. Here's the challenge with some of these reports, because I've been on the back end of some of these reports, is they're giving you some base level information, but they're not telling you the information you need in order to make better buying choices. So you'll need to massage that data. And don't feel like, oh no, I'm a small business, I need to massage that data. When I worked for huge corporations, we had awesome enterprise level reporting. We always had to massage that data. It just is what it is. It's kind of like someone who works in a professional kitchen. There's no way to get around cutting onions other than to, guess what? cut the onions. So it's our version of cutting onions. We've just got to massage the data. So that was an awesome question. All right. I'm going to take a sip of water real fast. I'm not familiar with gross margin. Can you explain it and why it creates more profit than markup? Oh my gosh, this is where I don't preach a lot, but here's what I'm going to talk about and what I'm really passionate about. And I want to start with markup. Take notes, really take notes on this. Markup is a process we use, and its sole function is to determine a retail price. That's its sole function. It is a pretty isolated, lonely little silo. And we typically, in wholesale and in retail, utilize this type of math so we can determine the price we're going to charge someone else. There is so much information that if you just times 2, that's going to get us to the price we're charging. Here's what I love about using a markup method. Number one, it is so easy to communicate. And when you have a team, or you're providing direction, or you're talking shop with another peer, you can communicate that strategy easily. And number two, that math is easy. Times 2. I mean, it's really easy to double the price. So often people will call it keystoning. And that could work. And for some businesses, for some, it does work. But I just see it so often, and in small businesses, it's not enough. So who might that strategy work for? And so usually that strategy yields a margin that's about 50%. Gross margin that's about 50%. So that strategy might work for someone who drives so much unit volume that they're just raking in gross profit dollars. And so a lower gross margin is okay. They might even be fine with a 48 or 45 or 42% margin, because they're raking it in transactions, raking it in volume. The reason why for us small businesses that I always recommend something different is because I want you to set yourself up for a little volatility. That sometimes traffic might be up and sometimes traffic might be down, but that you can weather it because you've set yourself up for profitability at every traffic level for each individual item that you've priced. So gross margin percent really is about the profit dollars as a percent of your total revenue. So gross margin percent is about your profit dollars as a percent of revenue. And honestly, who doesn't want to be thinking about and dreaming about profit dollars? I'm not saying rake in bajillions of dollars. I hope that you do, but we're talking about a sustainable business that gives you enough cash flow that you can keep ordering new inventory. That really is the difference between the two. The math is probably going to look pretty similar, but I really want you retailers to have a gross margin percent that probably sits higher than 50%. That is more than markup and doubling the cost to get to your price, because I know you have inventory. Unless you're 100% consignment, and this webinar really is for people who have product to sell because you've bought product, you have a really, really high cost, and your inventory is really tying up your dollars, and you want to be able to have flow. So hopefully I've explained that well. Okay. I've been pretty successful with my sales for the last 3 years I've been open. Why should I change my buying strategy now? Oh my gosh, congratulations. I'm so excited. Happy 3 years and happy success. I'm really, really excited for you. And this is a great question. When there's success, it does not necessarily mean that there isn't opportunity for even greater growth, even more profit, and more information to allow you to move that much more swiftly and that much more confidently. I will say that this information is so valuable that I challenge you, even at 3 successful years, to really take a good hard look at it and really ask yourself, are there things in here that I can use to make my business even better? Who knows? You may actually, and not have known it, been using these strategies. I have found in our client base, in our client family, that the ones that kind of have this exact thought process in mind are the ones that have been able to take their intuition far. But we get mired in strategy and we get mired in the day-to-day that we need this outside data to really help us. And I don't want data to be a big dirty word. What I often say is our customers vote with their dollars. And I will say it again, customers vote with their dollars. If they like it, they buy it. If they don't, they don't. At the very end of the day, he or she can tell us a lot of things, but unless they buy it, they're not voting. And as we start to grab that information and start to run some math on it, we can really, really understand the difference between what they actually do and what they say. Because I've seen it. I've sat in many focus groups, and what customers say they're going to do versus what they actually do are different. And so I think that there are some things that you might be doing that have led to your success. And if these are new concepts for you, I totally invite you to explore them and see how they might be able to help you, because they will. I've seen businesses really, I just had tea with a client yesterday. Her business is 14 years, super, super successful. She's been in the same location for about 11 years. She really has a lot of things around her operationally that are solid. And in this last year, she's been able to unlock some things, and her business is up like 80% over last year, simply by us working on these types of things. And I hope that's success for you too. Okay, got a few more questions. Can I use the margin method to create one target that covers all the items in my shop? Or do I need to calculate a margin for each individual item? Oh my gosh, I love this question. Okay, so the question really is, can I take this approach and be more general? Or do I really just need to like roll up my sleeves and like take a deep breath and know this is a project of epic proportion? And I'm gonna say, if you are starting, you know what? Directional. Remember, directional is good. Directional is better than not. Directional is gonna give us the momentum. We're gonna start to see benefits and then get extra motivated to like spend the 2 months on the full project. So it's gonna be okay to start and apply a gross margin approach to your entire business. And then what I'll say is, especially if you're just starting and really starting with this kind of math, is just to pause for a little bit. Just pause and look at it and ask yourself real questions. Like after you do the math, stop and say, does this price point make sense to a customer? Am I adding value? Is this valuable? Because remember, customers don't buy on price alone. They may buy on price alone, but sometimes it's linked to other things like price and mass quantity, price and convenience, price and story, price and values. And for small businesses, that price and values equals supporting handmade, supporting local, product knowledge, having a trusting relationship. So, ask yourself these questions like, does this math actually make sense? That's where I would say, ultimately, absolutely, I would love for us, and like the way I run businesses is I'm really fine-tuning the gross margin percent strategy on every single item because it has to make sense. But start now is so much better than not starting at all. Okay. Ooh, and this is a question about the quick formula I showed you. Do you minus the forecasted sales at the beginning of the month, or do we minus actual sales at the end of the month to determine what the open to buy is for the next month. Ooh, okay. So the formula was we start with our retail inventory at the beginning of the month, and we minus the sales immediately. And then we minus all the like this ugly stuff like markdowns and shrink and discounts. And then we added our receipts to get to the end of the month. The reason why that math is the way it is because that's generally basically how we think about it in flow. I'm just going to stop and address one thing because we didn't talk about it because I didn't want to get too technical, but this question is really calling for it. Let's say we are in our shop. Imagine, if you will. And imagine it's the last day of the month and we've had a long day. We're going to go out to dinner with some people that we love, some best friends. We have the inventory we have at the last day. Turn off the lights, lock the door, arm it if you have a security system. All that inventory is exactly there when we open for business the next day at the beginning of the month. So really, it flows. So my end of month inventory on January is, guess what? My beginning of month inventory in February. My end of month inventory in February is my beginning of month inventory in March. So I bring that up because the question is, when do we subtract? Is it the beginning of the month or it's the end of the month? And I wanted to make sure you knew and that you had the information that all of that flows, right? So when I open up my store the next day, it's the same exact inventory because no one sold anything. I didn't sell anything. I didn't ship anything out. Static inventory. So you can actually might be subtracting your sales from an end of month to get to next month's buy. That can actually truly be the case. So those were my questions. I really hope that I feel like I met my goal. I'll just be honest. I'm going to give myself a shout out. I feel like I met my goal, which is to teach you enough so that you are asking better questions. And I'm taking these questions as my cue and hope that you too are starting to ask better questions. Remember, starting now is better than not starting. Directional information is absolutely good and okay. We can have a lot of math, but pause and ask yourself, does this actually make sense? And I actually have homework for you because I'm a teacher at heart. You get homework. And your homework is to really start to understand how much you have in inventory right now at retail price. And then I want you to take a good hard look and look at sales, past and present, and possibility, and start to take a guess, a realistic guess around what you think your future sales plan is. Not a pipe dream, not a stretch goal, but a realistic goal, because you are going to end up buying your inventory against that goal. And if it is too low or too high, you can find yourself in a really precarious inventory situation. So homework, inventory, sales. That's going to take you far, and I bet you're going to start asking better questions. So if you feel like, and this really is high level for over an hour, high level storytelling about why you need to know these things to be a really good retail buyer. So if you feel like you need a deep dive, we're here to help you with a deep dive. Absolutely. Can you tell we love this stuff? Go to merchantmethod.com and just email us. Steph and I are going to be really excited to connect with you. info@merchantmethod.com. Thank you so much for joining us. Take a break, then get back to the math. Bye. This is Chris.